Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do a handover video on your Autosleeper Duetto. So this one, obviously on the Ford Transit. So we'll start around the outside of the vehicle and then we'll jump inside in just a minute. So this particular one, we've had the reversing sensors fitted just here along this step to get in. Reversing camera up there, obviously up high like that, so that when the doors are shut, or indeed when they're open, you can still see out through there. It's a single camera, so it basically acts as like a rear view mirror essentially. The screen I've put down there on the actual dash itself, and it's really nice and easy to see. These little buttons here on the Transits, when you push these in and keep pushing the door will actually open up all the way open rather than just to here. Same on both sides. I can't really show you because I'm too close to things at the moment, but that's that if you ever wanted to use that. You got these two vents just here, which are both for your fridge. So I've got the fridge lit up on gas as we speak, and we've got a little bit of heat coming out through here on this top right hand side of this vent here. So essentially that's the little exhaust for the gas burner for the fridge. So if you ever need to double check that it was lit or not, you can do that just by putting your hand over that. Freshwater inlet is this one just here. Boiler vent is this one here, and again same sort of thing with the fridge, but if you wanted to check that was lit, put your hand either left or right just here and you'll feel the heat coming out. Also, don't worry, I know it's dirty, but obviously it still needs a clean. Your mains hookup point, this one just here. So if you wanted access to your charger, any 240 volt sockets and things like that, that's where you go for that. Wastewater drain, we're just in the middle of changing it, but it is just there, or it will be just there. It'll be a nice new black drain on that one. Inside the actual cab, we've got a few bits. So this is the little screen I was telling you about, so that's for your reversing camera. So it's quite a nice looking little screen. All the wiring and bits and pieces are just here. You can tuck that back away if you want to, but I've tried to keep it as neat as possible, as I possibly could when I was doing the camera. So your lights, one to the right is your side lights, and then you got your main beam just there, so that's just for normal nighttime driving. Obviously you have your automatic gearbox. A bit of a strange sort of layout on the actual selector here. It's not really a selector, there's just buttons. You've got three modes. You've got a weight mode, what is that again? Ice mode, and an economy mode. So pretty simple with those. It's obviously if you're carrying a bit more weight than usual, you can go on the top one. If it's icy outside, it'll hold you in the gears a little bit longer and be a little bit less sort of harsh. And if you want it just on the sort of economy mode, so it'll try and change gear as much as possible, then that's the one you want. Neutral, obviously for the most part when you're not moving. Foot brake needs to be on before any of these will actually do anything at all. But essentially if you want to pull away, press this button just here, and then you put yourself into drive, and then it'll just select through the gears as and when it needs to. Once you're stopped, if you want to go into reverse, you go into neutral and then double tap the R button there, and that'll select reverse. You do have to double tap it, otherwise it won't do anything at all. And then obviously you've got the reversing sensors there to reverse you straight up to things. Obviously you have the reversing camera, which will come on as soon as you put the ignition on. The power comes to this. If you don't want it on all the time, you can just press the button there and it will just turn itself off. On this particular van, you've got Sigma alarm system, and you've got the little dials up here. You don't have to do anything with that. All you have to do is press the button on your key fob, and then you'll be able to start the van up. It also unlocks and locks the van as well. So if you just go straight from that Sigma alarm system, then you should be good to go. You have got up and down buttons for your gears here as well if you want to use those. Other than that, you've got the original Ford stereo, hazard lights, all of your heater settings and controls are just here, and you've got like a little ESP sort of traction control button there, and your heated rear window. Indicators and flashing lights are on the left hand one, and washers and wipers on the right. Under the bonnet, you've got your air filter over here on the left hand side inside this box. Brake fluid attached to the servo down the back, just here. So you've got that nice clean brake fluid there. If I can get that back on. Power steering fluid, it's just here as well. Again, I know you can't really see it, but it's the correct colour and everything. You're at the right height there on your actual levels. Then got your engine oil dipstick, so that's that one there. Again, we just had it full service, so there's no black oil there. Nice fresh clean oil, which also means obviously we've driven it back from the MOT station. It does also mean that the engine's actually in pretty good nick, because usually a diesel engine would just go black straight away inside the oil. And so yeah, nice clean engine. Same with there, no milky sort of mayonnaise, as I like to call it, up there. So head gasket and all that kind of stuff is all good, no overheating. You've got your, because it's an automatic, you have got fluid in here as well. It's a bit more of a sort of a special thing to change. It's not something you do on a service usually, but that's your automatic transmission fluid. Got your engine coolant up here, which you can see there, just at the very top of the maximum line there. And so obviously we're checking it whilst it's cold, and so that means it's at perfect level. Again, another thing to show you that it's a nice clean engine inside. You've got nice clean coolant in there. It's not rusty or anything like that. So really nice clean engine. And you've got your washer fluid just here, which is topped up right to the top, as you'd expect. So if we carry on to the near side now, diesel filling point is just there. Obviously your diesel heating, which is e-dispatcher, diesel heating does run from your diesel tank. So as long as you've got some fuel in the actual, or some diesel in your tank, you will be able to heat the van up as well on the inside, but I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. So that's your diesel filling point. I'll just pull the door to a little bit so we can see the rest of it. So you've got your Lpg locker, so this is your gas locker. Push both of these buttons in at the same time after you've unlocked the top one, and then you'll be able to open that. So you've got two of these little 4.9 or 3.9, sorry, gas bottles. You've got a brand new pigtail, so that's 2022 dated on there. So all you have to do is turn the little dial in there anti-clockwise to turn it on, and clockwise to turn it off. So basically round to the left to turn it on, round to the right to turn it off. So that's your gas locker. I'll leave that on for a minute so I can show you a few bits. Same idea with opening up the toilet cassette locker, both buttons at the same time, and then you'll be able to open that. I just can't really show you it very easily because obviously I've got to use one hand to open it. So you've got a couple of bits I want to show you in here. The actual cassette itself, to pull that out, you push down on this little yellow tab here, and the whole thing will just pull out. The only things I want to show you on this is that you empty it out from here. And the other thing is, when you are actually emptying it from there, you need to hold down the little yellow button at the back there. It's basically like an air pressure release valve, and so you know you'll thank me for it if you once you've done it a few times. If you hold that yellow button down, it's much easier. Any other things, when you push this all the way in, this little flap here opens up and allows you to get into the cassette, which is what happens on the inside of the vehicle. And when you slide it in as well, this little tab just here, I'll show you obviously when we get into the van, but when you open up the flap from the inside, all you actually do is turn that. All right, so that's when you open it up on the inside. When you're turning the thing, that's just turning this. So you see it's opening the little flap there for the cassette. So that is literally it. That's you know, as simple as it gets really. Put the flap back away before you push it back in, although it doesn't really matter too much. Push it all the way back in until it stops, like that, and then you're good to use it on the inside. The other thing is you've got a separate flush system on here, so you have to fill up a little flush tank. So if you want to, I'll just go through it quickly with you. So if you actually want to fill it up, you pull this around, take this cap off at the top, and once you've got that off, you can then see that you can get into there for your flush fluid. I can see actually that needs to be a little bit more watery, to be honest. That's a little bit too thick, so you should have put a bit more water in with the mix before pouring it in, but that's okay. So if you want to empty this out and start again, which you don't really need to because there's already a nice pink colour to it, all you have to do is take this little bit off here, and then it will just start pouring out like sort of draining oil. But once you've done that, you then need to pull this bit out to the side and then pull it down, and then this will come out. And then you basically just do this. I'll just show you for a second. Pour it out, and then it will just pour all of it out. All right, when you want to stop that, lift this up until it stops. And there's a little bit of a process, so up, I need to look at what I'm doing, up there, and then push it in to the side. That's then sort of secure in there. That's your level meter. So about here is where you want it really, but this is fine for the moment. And then you want to pop this bit back on, and then put your cap back on after you've filled it back up. Which, oh no, oh well, that's okay. I thought I was going to need 2 rounds there. Okay, so that's your flush system. So that's your pink fluid, this is your blue fluid. Okay, so right, so that's it for the outside. So I'll show you bits around the inside now. I'll start off just here. I know that you usually be coming in through the sliding door, I guess, but I'll start with your control panel because that's probably the most straightforward way of doing it. So right now I'm just going to turn everything off. So turn that off, turn that off, turn that off. Put this back to the middle. So right now this entire thing is completely off because this here is in the middle, not on hab, not on vehicle. Master is off, pump is off, lights are off. Okay, so now everything 12 volt in this whole vehicle is completely isolated. If you want to turn it on, you don't want to go down to vehicle because what that will do is start drawing any power that you use from your engine battery instead of the leisure, which is really not a good idea. If you do that for too long, obviously then when you go to start the vehicle up, you won't be able to start it because the engine battery will be flat. So try your best to go up to hab as much as you possibly can, because if you're at hab, anything that you use is then being drawn through your leisure battery. Master, turn that one on, because then that basically just is a main isolator for everything 12 volt. So hab and master, so these two basically just push them up. You can then check your battery level if you want to, so push left on this one and then check the top scale, which is the colours. So if I do that, press and hold on the battery, so you're right up in there into the green, which is probably about 13 volts. If you want to check your fresh water level, push to the right and then check the bottom scale. So you've got, I think there is water in it. Okay, so I must have used the last of the water up when I was testing it a minute ago. So pretty much empty on the fresh water, so push to the right and hold, and then you check your bottom scale, so we've got pretty much nothing in it. All right, once you've done that, you can push the pump button, and that'll allow you to pull water through your taps. When the pump's actually on, you get this little red light here which says pump run. So you've got cold water, and then, well, cold water run to the right, sorry, and then hot to the left. Okay, so there's really not much water in it at all. So the pump probably won't turn itself off now because there's no water in it to get to pressure. So that's another good thing I want to show you. So a minute ago, before I got in the van, it was all working perfectly because there was enough water in it. But now, because there's no water in the tank, I've turned the pump on and it will just carry on, and it will never stop. And the reason it will never stop until you turn it off is because these pumps, or this pump in this particular van, like a lot of the others, works off of water pressure. So it will turn itself off on its own as long as there's enough water in the system and there's no air anywhere. All right, so that's why that one wouldn't turn off just then, because there's no water there to actually get it to pressure. All right, if you filled the water up from that fresh water point like I showed you on the outside, filled it up and then tried that again, water would come out properly from here, and then once you turn the tap off, it will then turn itself off. Okay, so that's why that wasn't working just then. But But as like a good example, I just want to show you that anyway, because it's handy for you to know if that ever happens in the future. If there is air in the system, so if you have filled the water up and it still won't turn itself off when you've turned all the taps off, if there's air in the system, all you need to do really is just keep pulling the water until all the air comes out through the taps. You'll know about it if air comes through the taps, because you'll basically just get, well, literally, sounds stupid, but you will just get air pumping out through here instead of water. So until that stops, you can then just keep it going until the water comes through nice and easily. Hot and cold, it's really important to do it on hot and cold, because you need to make sure that your boiler's full before you start using that as well. So it's really helpful. Pump on and just wait until the hot and the cold starts coming through nice and easily and clearly. So that's the pump one. I'll leave that one off again because obviously, like I said, there's no water in the tank now, so I haven't got to the lights yet, that's why it's not coming on. So the last one here, none of the lights are on at the moment. All I'm going to do is press this button on, and then you have lights. So all the lights around the vehicle now work. So that one there, even though you've got your master switch on, the light one over here is the isolator for every single one of the lights in the vehicle. So got that one on now. Obviously, I know you can see that there are already a few lights on, but even all of these smaller lights will now come on if you want them to be on. Being an auto sleeper, they're just you know, fantastic at sort of hiding little bits and pieces all over the place, and you know, having all of these nice bits of trim in here. The other thing is as well that because obviously they've made sure that they've spent, you know, a long time designing everything in here, a lot like all their other vans as well. You also get a much better kind of insulation from all of these vans as well, because you know, you get this sort of deep pocket just here. Everything behind here will all be insulated, and you know, everything, the whole roof liner here is sort of spongy. That's because it's all completely full of insulation. So you know, for any kind of camping whatsoever, this, you know, it's a really good vehicle. So that's the control panel. If you've got your light switch on there, turn it off and all the lights will turn off. So if you want to, what some people do, instead of having to go through the van every single time and turning all the lights on that you want on, you can just leave all of the lights on that you want on and then just literally press the button there, and then they'll all come back on every time. Or if you want to, you can just go around and turn them all off, because it's not exactly a big van, so it wouldn't take you too long. So that's that. I'll leave the light switch on for a minute. The one to the right of this here is your diesel heating. That's your e-dispatcher. E-dispatcher because it's got the little E sort of symbol just here. So e-dispatcher and Webasto are the two proper brands, if you like, of diesel heaters. They use a lot of the e-dispatcher stuff in the lorries and the trucks as their sort of like overnight heaters. So if you want just a fan only, so no heating but just fan, you press the little fan button down here, and then after a few seconds or so, you'll have cool air pumping through this little bottom vent. If you want heating, two things. You need to make sure that you've got about a quarter of a tank of fuel in your system at least, and then push the button on there at the top, so this one here, and then just wait. After about sort of 2 or 3 minutes, you'll hear a constant ticking outside the vehicle. The ticking noise is basically just the diesel pump, so it just sort of brings a little bit through at a time like that, and that's what that little ticking noise is. You will smell a little bit of like a diesel sort of smell outside. That's because it is literally a diesel powered motor. And then after you know, like I say, about 5-10 minutes or so, you'll have hot air coming out through that bottom vent. And yeah, and like I said, because it's quite a small van, you don't need a load of different vents all over the place. So that one just down there will heat this whole van up in no time at all. So that's how your diesel heating works. Top button on for the actual heating, bottom button on just for a little bit of fan. Turn it off by pressing the middle button there. If there's no lights on it at all, it's off. Okay, so you've got a bit of 12 volt power just there if you should need it, and that's about it for this sort of area, I think. So you've got your 3-burner grill and oven just here. So they've all got their own little diagrams on them telling you what they do. So you've got oven, grill, top left, bottom left, top right. The igniter here does all 3 burners, the grill and the oven, all of them at the same time. So obviously the oven, the grill, sorry, needs to be open when you use it. And also, being a motorhome system, you will find it a hell of a lot easier to light the oven up with the door open, and then you can obviously close it over once it's actually lit. Other than that, I don't need to go into a huge amount of detail on this, because obviously it's just like any household cooker. They all work really, really well, and we don't tend to get any problems with them at all, to be honest. Nothing to show you in there, just a little bit of storage and a cutlery drawer. Before I forget, I will just go through the fridge with you, because it's obviously quite an important part. So the fridges on the motorhomes are, I'll just point out as well, this whole front has been made up for this one particular van, because they don't usually have this wooden piece on the front. Anyway, right. So you've got 3 ways of using the fridge. That's why it's a 3-way fridge. You've got 12 volt on the left, which is the red button there. So that's when your engine's running only. 240 volt switch, which is the green one, which is when your hookup's plugged in. And gas over here. All right. So don't worry about this silicone, by the way. This is all just stuff to stop breeze coming through from the outside. It's not something you have to do. It's just that if this hadn't have already been done, you probably would have noticed after a few weeks that, you know, there's a hell of a breeze because the vents are outside. They need a lot of ventilation at the back of the fridges. So if you don't do this and there's a gap all the way around, you wouldn't believe the breeze that comes through. So that's why people do that. Anyway, so if you want to light it up on gas, which I have at the moment, all you have to do, I'll just turn it off for the minute just so I can show you. All you have to do to light it up on gas is press this switch on. You see it flashes and you'll be able to hear it. So that's your igniter. So obviously it's an automatic igniter because it's doing it on its own. And then all you have to do is push this one in and round to the left. Igniter stops straight away because it's lit. Hold on to it for a second and then let go of it. If that igniter stays off like that when it's in the on position, that means that your flame is lit. If you don't trust it, you can then go around to the back and then check that there's heat coming out through that little vent. Or if you don't trust that as well, you can have a little look through this little hole here and you should be able to see a little blue flame there, like you can see on the screen. So that's how you light it up on gas. The gas is probably the quickest way of getting the fridge cold. In fact, it is the quickest way. So that'll take a couple of hours at the very least. 240 volt switch there, the green one, is also pretty good. It will get the fridge cold quite quickly as well. But it's you know, it's up to you if you want to use that. If you've got the hookup plugged in, if you, for example, if you're going to go away tomorrow morning, I would advise that you plug it in on hookup overnight and just switch the green button on there, and then by the morning everything inside the fridge will be cold. The reason I say to get it cold the night before, you can either use mains or gas to do that, by the way, the night before, it's up to you. But the reason I say to get it cold before you go away is because the 12 volt switch there, the red one, which is for when you're driving, won't get the fridge cold on its own. It needs to be cold already. The 12 volt basically just holds its temperature rather than getting it cold on its own. So either gas or the green mains electric one the night before you go away, and then switch it over to 12 volt for when you're driving. I'll turn the gas off. Switch comes on there because it's not lit anymore. Turn it off. And that's it. That's the fridge off. So, let me get under here. Oops. That's probably something. Okay, so, a couple of bits I need to show you under here. So you've got gas isolators just there. Top one's for the oven system, middle one's for the fridge, and the bottom one's for the boiler. And that is actually all of your gas systems on this particular van. So if you wanted to isolate any of those, you can just literally turn those 90 degrees like the diagram shows you, and then that basically just isolates any gas going to any of those things. The only reason you would ever need to do that is if you think there's a problem with something. Please don't do that just for no reason, because you will struggle to get them to light back up again once you've turned it back on. And the reason for that is, basically, if you imagine with the fridge, you actually draw the gas through with that button. You know, you do it yourself by pushing and holding that switch in. Whereas the boiler, what happens is when you light it up, it will draw a certain amount of gas through and then it stops. So if you turn it off from here, when you go and turn the boiler on the next time, it has to travel from there to the boiler, and it will probably take 5 or 6 goes to actually light it up, because you can't physically hold a button in to draw the gas through to purge it. Yeah, so basically just don't turn those off unless you think there's a problem with any of them, which obviously at the moment there isn't, because we've just done a hab check on it. So that's that. So you then got your your mains isolators just here, so your RCD and MCBs. So if you want to, again, same sort of thing really, you don't need to do this. If it trips, then obviously it means you've plugged something dodgy in, or you know, one of the appliances has gone wrong. But again, as we speak, after I literally just doing our habitation check like last week, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever, and all the charger and all that sort of stuff works really well. And I don't know if you can see it very well, just there, that little button just there. So that is basically your 240 volt power for your boiler. So if you filled the boiler up full of water like I showed you how to do a minute ago, up in the sink, then you can then just literally, if you've got a hookup plugged in, you can press that button on there and then it will heat the water up inside the boiler just via the electric element. The main way of using the boilers is the gas, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, but if you wanted to use it on electric only, you can do it just by pressing that button just there. The only thing I will say about that, they work really well on electric, but the thing that sort of catches people out sometimes is accidentally leaving that switch on inside there, because obviously it's not really on show, it's sort of tucked out of the way. If you forget that that switch is on, right, and for example there's no water in the boiler, if you forget that switch is on and plug your hookup cable in, you wouldn't know that the boiler is heating nothing via the electric element inside of it, because you've left that switch on by accident. And if you start heating up nothing inside of a boiler, it will overheat, and you know, wires will burn out and things like that, and it gets a little bit messy. So just please make sure, if you're going to use that button there, it's fine, but just make sure that you turn it off when you're finished, just in case you, like I said, if you plug a hookup into the vehicle forgetting that button's on and there's no water in the boiler, yeah, you know, it'll overheat. So make sure that you turn that off when you finish with it. The gas way of using the boiler is just here, a little bit more visible, so you can't really forget that this one's on. But all you have to do is select your temperature, so it's 30 all the way around to 70. So right there is 30 all the way around 70, and then switch down like that. You get a green light on like that, it will light up, and then you should get a little amber light on as well once it's lit. Or you might not on these ones, I'm not sure. But basically, if you turn it around to the right, you get a green light on there, it'll start heating the water up. And I'm sorry about my shaky hand, it's just a bit of an awkward place to show you it. So that's it, that's how you use the boiler. You need to make sure that the vent is off on the outside, that's 100% definitely. If the vent isn't off on the outside, two things might happen. Well, one, it will not light. If you got the vent on the outside, I can promise you that it won't light. It needs a lot of air to be drawn in from the outside to actually work. It needs a lot of ventilation, so it won't work. But also, if for whatever reason the gas pumps through there and it does light up, then it'll just blow that thing off, and yeah, it's again a bit messy. So make sure that you take that cowl cover off before you use this, and again, similar sort of thing, make sure that you switch it off when you're finished with it. About half an hour or so you can sort of expect to wait for that to actually heat up. But yeah, that's that. Underneath here, what have we got? We should have all the carpets and things like that. The tables are hidden back there behind all of these seats and that. This little button just here is how you pull the seats forward. I'm not sure if you've seen it already. You get a good grip of it with one hand. Right, I'm just going to put you down for a second whilst I pull this bed out. So you pull this out, and then, right, you need 2 hands really, but that's how the bed works. You just push that little button down there and pull the seat out towards you. But like I said, I can't do it with 1 hand, so, but that's how that works. Up in this little random cupboard up here, well, it's actually not random at all. It's they've made it here so that you can, this is where where they expect you to put a TV. If you do have a little television you want to use, that's the little cupboard they've made up for it, and it's really, really helpful. I would advise you only to ever use it in here if I was you, because you've got 12 volt power just there for if you've got a 12 volt telly. The aerial point is there, and you've got 240 volt power there, so if your hookup's plugged in, you can use a 240 volt TV in here as well. And obviously, you know, the obvious reason is they've made you a nice little soft bench there for putting your telly on. So really, really helpful, really clever that they've put that there. In this sort of main wardrobe, you've got the actual aerial booster, so that's there. So that's what runs straight to that point inside that cupboard there that I just showed you. And that's the other side of the gas locker, so you can't get into that. So nearly there. The only other bits are inside this, obviously I'll show you the bits in the bathroom, but when you open up this door, if you take this off, you can open this up, and you should see there's a little bit in there, look. So if you line that up, put that in there, that's solid, and then you've got your own sort of bathroom space. So obviously I know that the back doors wouldn't usually be open, but you've got the curtain that comes across here, comes across like that, and then you've got your bathroom, so you know you can't be seen from the other side in there. Really nice and simple in here. Shower, I'm not going to show you that because I'll get soaking wet, but that literally just works straight from that, just like all the other taps. Sink, nice and easy, literally hot and cold. There's no drain inside the actual sink itself, so what you have to do, or what the design is, basically there's a drain hole down the back there and a drain hole down the back there. So once you've filled this up as much as you need, you literally just slowly lift it up and it just drains down the back. That's why there's this little divot here. So push that all the way up and back like that. Toilet is really, really easy. Push the button here for your flush fluid, and then twist this to drain it into the cassette. Turn it again to close the flap. Really important to close that flap back over whenever you're finished. It might be obvious because you get a bad smell coming through into the van, but also if you don't close that flap back over, you will not be able to take the cassette out from outside because it would have locked itself in. So it's really important to do that whenever you're finished. So you have also obviously got a light up there as well, so you can light the bathroom up, and your skylight. So then you would take that out from there, close this bit back over, put that back up, and that's it. So it doesn't sort of rattle about when you're driving or anything like that, so it's a really nice design. So yeah, the only thing I want to show you really is that I hope that it won't, but I've used this little gap up here to run the wire for your reversing camera. So you can probably see literally just up in this little corner here. I've gone down there and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But if you ever find, I'm really hoping that it doesn't, but if you ever find that the wire starts sort of showing itself up here, you can come back to us and, you know, I'll sort it out properly. But I really don't think it will, because I pushed it in quite a way. But if it ever starts to show itself, you can just push it back in. The reason I've done it like that is because, one, it was much easier for me to go down that route, but when I actually pushed it in, it felt really nice and secure. So I really don't think it's going to come out, but if it ever does, it's my fault, and I'll you know, you can just push it back in, or I can sort of put it somewhere else. But that's that. So I'm hoping that won't ever happen, because like I said, it was really nice snug fit. But yeah, so I think I've shown you everything I can, but if there's anything else you think I've missed out, or anything you want going over again, just let us know. And but yeah, so we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van, and thanks very much.